draft decisions adopted by the committee rests at 18. Mr. President, allow me now to provide the conference with an overview of the draft decisions adopted by the committee at its sixth and final meeting earlier this afternoon. Under Agenda Item 2, entitled Integration of Sustainable Development Goal 15 and Target 15.3 into the implementation of the United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification and Land Degradation Neutrality, the committee adopted one draft decision entitled Integration of Sustainable Development Goal 15, Target 15.3 into the implementation of the United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification and Land Degradation Neutrality, contained in document ICCD/COP14/L20. Under Agenda Item 2C, entitled Implementation of the United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification Communication Plan and the United Nations Decade for Deserts and the Fight Against Desertification 2010-2020, the committee adopted one draft decision entitled Implementation of the United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification Communication Plan and the United Nations Decade for Deserts and the Fight Against Desertification 2010-2020, contained in document ICCD/COP14/L16. Under Agenda Item 3B, Promotion and Strengthening of Relationships with other relevant conventions and international organizations, institutions, and agencies, the committee adopted one draft decision on promotion and strengthening of the relationships with other relevant conventions and international organizations, institutions, and agencies, contained in document ICCD/COP14/L21. Under this item 3C, entitled Follow-up to Policy Frameworks and Thematic Issue, the committee adopted two draft decisions on policy advocacy on drought, contained in the document ICCD/COP14/L22, and land tenure, contained in document ICCD/COP14/L17 with regard to draft decisions L22 on policy advocacy on drought. I would like to inform the committee of the correction to paragraph 11C, wherein the words implementation annex of the convention in the second line should be replaced by the word group. Paragraph 11C would therefore read as follows. The Intergovernmental Working Group will consist of a maximum of 3 party representatives from each regional group nominated by the respective regional group on the basis of nominations from the national governments. Under item 6A, entitled Program and Budget for the Biennium 2020-2023, the committee adopted two draft decisions on the multi-year work plan for the convention institutions 2020-2023, contained in document ICCD/COP14/L12, and on the program and budget for the biennium 2010-2021, contained in document ICCD/COP14/L18. Under Agenda Item 7A, entitled Participation and Involvement of Civil Society Organization in Meetings and Processes of the United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification, the committee adopted a draft on participation and involvement of civil society organizations in meetings and processes of the United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification, contained in document ICCD/COP14/L10. Under item 7B, participation and involvement of the private sector in meetings and processes of the United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification and the Business Engagement Strategy, the committee adopted one draft decision on the participation and involvement of the private sector in meetings and processes of the United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification and the Business Engagement Strategy as contained in the document ICCD/COP14/L11. Finally, under item 7C, entitled Program of Work for the 15th session of the Conference of the Parties, the committee adopted two draft decisions on the date and venue of the 15th session of the Conference of the Parties, contained in document ICCD/COP14/L15, and on the program of work for the 15th session of the Conference of the Parties contained in the document ICCD/COP14/L19. I hereby submit these 11 decisions to the Conference of the Parties at its 14th session for adoption. Mr. President, distinguished delegates, please allow me once again a few seconds to thank the interpreters, all technical and other personnel, the entire local staff, UNCCD colleagues, the Indian government and people, and everyone who contributed to making this exercise a success. On behalf of all of us, I give general salute to them and bow in genuine reverence. Finally, please permit me to wish every participant a safe journey home. You can all leave knowing that you came here with noble aim of trying to make this planet better. That in and of itself is extremely noble. Don't be disappointed if we didn't achieve as much as you had hoped. This is always a work in progress. Tomorrow brings a new Addis Ababa that give a new and real hope. We must go out determined to change the world, but more importantly, as Gandhi said, more determined to be the change you want to see in this world. Land is you, protect it and survive. Just one final thing, Mr. President. I would like to conclude by thanking the facilitators of the contact groups, Mr. Troy Torrington of Guyana, and Mr. R.B. Lal and his colleague, Mr. Vikas Panikkar, for successfully guiding the work of the groups. I would also like to thank all parties for the spirit of flexibility, goodwill, and cooperation that they have demonstrated throughout our deliberations. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Trevor Bain, for your excellent report. I also thank all parties for the constructive engagement and flexibility in finalizing the work of the Committee of the Whole. Distinguished delegates, I now invite the conference to take action on the draft decision just presented by the chair of the Committee of the Whole. May I take it that the conference wishes to adopt the following draft decisions: ICCD/COP14/L10, 11, 12, and 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21st, and 22 as orally corrected. Hearing no objection, it's so decided. We have thus concluded action on the recommendations of the Committee of the Whole to the Conference of Parties. I invite the conference to turn to agenda number 5, the segment 5 sub-items, parallel ministerial high-level roundtables, interactive dialogue, value-based approach to land stewardship, interactive dialogue 2, healthy land and healthy people, and interactive dialogue 3, boosting sustainable value chains for land-based business. In connection with this agenda item, the conference has before it one draft decision entitled Special Segments, contained in the document ICCD/COP14/L9, including 2 annexes, the New Delhi Declaration and the high-level segment summaries of roundtable and interactive dialogue. I invite the conference to take action on the draft decision entitled Special Segments contained in document ICCD/COP14/L9. May I take it that the conference wishes to adopt the draft decision contained in document ICCD/COP14/L9? Hearing no objection, it is so decided. Distinguished delegates, please allow me to make some remarks on this special occasion because we are ending. And as I said earlier, that everything that is good which starts has to end. And therefore, today we are ending, but ending with resolve. Resolve to present the future generation better earth, less land degradation, more biodiversity, and reversing the climate change and keeping temperature rise below 2%, what was agreed by all parties. So this is how we want to present the planet, and our all efforts are in that direction. So therefore, I first thank all of the delegates, all the ministers who came here, all the delegates, all the negotiators. They have come from far away. You stayed here, and I hope that you must have enjoyed the hospitality. Whatever we could do, we have done. And on everybody's suggestion also, we made some changes. And so, I hope that you must be returning with good memories. And at the same time, if you are here for next 1 or 2 days, please enjoy the surroundings and nearby places. In the closing ceremony, I would thank all of you, your insight, wisdom that you have brought to the 14th session of Conference of Parties, along with your graceful presence and proactive. I must thank and congratulate UNCCD Secretariat for the success of COP14, because the minute details with which they have worked is enviable. They have done their duty wonderfully and made us proud. So thanks, Secretariat, under your guidance, Executive Secretary. Then I must also thank Indian side, who are the real host behind all preparations, our Minister of Environment, Climate Change, Secretary Mishra, Mr. Jain, Mr. Tapka, their colleagues, the team, and Greater Noida Authority, and also my staff, and many others who were behind the success of this conference. All the agencies involved, and the FICCI, I must congratulate all of them. I hope you have enjoyed, and we will be meeting again in 2 years. I am glad to applaud organizers of 145 side events, 45 exhibitions, other events at Rio and India Pavilion for their wonderful work showcasing and sharing their innovative knowledge at this, because I have always seen side events many times become more interesting, and people definitely visit those side events. I must compliment UNCCD Secretariat at the lead organization in addressing a large number of issues. And these issues are important of desertification, land degradation, and drought. Drought has been forcefully put up in this conference, and therefore it is very important. We have discussed achieving SDG targets, ensure LDN targets, support countries in drought mitigation, encourage collaboration between technical partners and relevant scientific mechanisms to design a framework for management of soil organic carbon. And Prime Minister of India has declared that he will open a center of excellence, which will be a technical guide for all these things also. Promote sustainable land management, inventories, promote mechanism to support creation of an enabling financial environment, enhance cross-sectoral collaboration, encourage participation of private sector, and address issues of migration, land tenure, gender action plan, sand and dust storms. All these are relevant issues, and wherever there is in India, we have gender now equally regarded, not only in words, but in deeds also. We register property in name of husband and wife. It's a compulsory common registration. We had land reforms in year 50s, and in that we have given title of the land to the tiller. And therefore, and now all the benefits are separately counted for men and women, and they go into their bank accounts directly. I would like to express gratitude to the chairs and co-chairs of various subsidiary bodies. That's not a small job. Under the convention, namely Committee of Cows, CST, CRIC, and other chairs of various contact groups, wherein distinguished delegates negotiated the text, often up to midnight during the session. This COP has built key decisions of country parties and policymakers based on the recommendations of 18 sessions of committee to review the implementation of Convention CRIC 18 and 14 session of Committee on Science and Technology. I will walk through the following key deliberations outcome of COP 14. Co-benefits of implementing land degradation neutrality targets, need for the LDN fund, land tenure identified as priority issue, need to include reference to youth, recognize the importance of global data and indicators, need to clarify the scope and objective of global land outlook, need for development of holistic measures to link early warning monitoring systems, need for education awareness, need to explore value-based approaches, identified specific challenges and rural areas, need to integrate means of implementation, need to enhance the involvement of CSOs, and need to develop all-inclusive strategy. I think these are all important aspects. The Rio Convention Pavilion, a vibrant space for interactive all-day events and meetings, also took place at COP14, hosting thematic days, and the days were many. All the days when we were deliberating here, they did youth forum, gender caucus, a science day, sand and dust storms day, a business day, a local and regional governments day, the GEF day, the land for life day, and drought day. So everything was discussed in an interesting format. Various innovative and thematic sessions were organized at India Pavilion related to the issues on drought, land degradation, forestry, land energy, water nexus. Participants from different member countries and large number of outsiders attended these side events in which India highlighted its achievements in the areas of land management and environmental issues. India committed to use its COP presidency to help the world reverse the negative contribution of human activities to land degradation. We have announced that South-South cooperation through establishing a Center of Sustainable Land Restoration for UNCCD country parties for their capacity building, exchange of database, information regarding land degradation neutrality, target setting through a Center of Excellence with all satellite imagery and much more data for every country made available. Secondly, India aims to raise its ambition of the total area that would be restored from its land degradation status from 21 million hectares to, as stated in Bond Challenge, to 26 million hectares between now and 2030. Thirdly, we have offered our resources in space and remote sensing technology to member countries who wish to manage their land degradation programs through cutting edge, because in India, we have 5 by 5 meter mapped of all 7,000 kilometers of coast. We have mapped all wetlands. We have mapped all the land hotspots and particularly desertification, where it has happened, and agriculture and forestry separately. I convey my gratitude to everyone gathered here today to contributing the deliberations and negotiations. As COP14 President, on behalf of India, I take this opportunity to assure you of my commitment to steer the land agenda for the next 2 years, and I have no doubt of receiving continuous support of the country parties and the UNCCD Secretariat. As a host to COP14, we have put our best foot forward and will continue to do so in future to take the memorandum generated by this COP even further. For those of you who have traveled a long way to India. I hope you enjoyed your stay in our country and hospitality extended by us. Thank you. Jai Hind. I now have pleasure to invite Executive Secretary of United Nations, Convention of Combat Desertification, my friend Ibrahim Thiaw, to make a statement. Mr. Executive Secretary, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, Chair of COW, Excellencies, dear friends and colleagues. The Mahatma Gandhi once said, honest disagreement is often a good sign of progress. Over the last 2 weeks, there has been plenty of honest disagreements. I know there have been some hot debates, but I'm delighted to report we have seen very good progress in all areas of work to strengthen our convention, to better support parties, and above all, to produce better results for the people we serve. As Prime Minister Narendra Modi rightly said at the opening ceremony of this COP, everything has a law of being, a purpose, and everybody has to fulfill a purpose. And this is precisely what we did at this COP14. Let me begin by once again congratulating our new president of COP14, His Excellency Mr. Prakash Javadekar, Minister of Environment, Forests, and Climate Change of India. He and I have had a good discussion in recent months about our shared hope for this conference. These hopes have been surpassed in every account. I would like to express our gratitude to the government and people of India. Excellency, you have no doubt, we have no doubt, the convention is in very good and capable hands. Your experience, your vision, and your wisdom are recognized by all of us that have the privilege to know you. In the next coming 2 years, we look forward under your able presidency to continuing working together, sharing together, so that we can indeed make a future that is more sustainable. Ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to share with you 4 key takeaway messages. First, we have sent a very clear message to the upcoming New York summits. That is, investing in land unlocks multiple opportunities. Indeed, land restoration is one of the cheapest solutions to address the global crisis of climate change and biodiversity loss, and ultimately to meet the Sustainable Development Goals. A global movement of restoration anchored in nature-based solutions would deliver benefits for the Rio Conventions and for many of the world's most pressing issues. Our successes will be measured in more than biophysical terms. This will mean greater health and well-being for people everywhere and for the planet. This leads me to my second takeaway. There is a clear business case for land restoration. More opportunities will emerge as we build an even stronger business case for land restoration. That business case for investment in land and its restoration works for both you as parties and the private sector. At COP14, we talked about the need for sustainable value chains. And the private sector invited you, among other things, to think about how to regulate in support of innovation for sustainable land management and how to develop incentive mechanism that rewards the conservation, restoration, and sustainable use of natural resources. Third, I think this is the COP where we finally put drought at the right level. We have woken up to the fact that we will see more frequent and more severe droughts, a phenomenon that will be exacerbated by climate change. Parties should be better prepared for drought. you can better mitigate and manage the risks. The momentum started a few years ago. Now we need to accelerate and come to long-lasting options. Finally, my fourth message. To my mind, this was the COP where we put people at the heart of what we do. I was delighted in particular to see parties embrace the need to not just talk about, but really deliver on the Gender Action Plan and youth engagement, and adopt a decision on land rights. With tenure rights and better access to credit and technology for all land users, men and women, we can, in the years to come, see this convention deliver real impact at scale. Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to close by saying thank you for all for being here, for your flexibility and for your willingness as parties to compromise and drive this agenda in a positive direction. I hope you would agree with me that this COP has been simply excellent. Many participants say it has been a turning point. Running such a COP flawlessly could not have happened without the generosity and the unwavering support from our host country, India. I'm still reflecting as to which of the three issues I prefer, whether it is the kindness of Indian people, the quality of the cuisine, or the enthusiasm and spirit of the local organizing committee. Mr. President, please convey our gratitude to His Excellency Prime Minister Modi, to the government and people of India. Allow me to put on record our sincere thanks to all volunteers, interns, security officers, and many others who have worked tirelessly in the background, sometimes even unnoticed, but whose contributions have been critical for the success of COP14. Can I ask the room to please express its gratitude to the organizing committee? I also would like to join the President in thanking the chairs of the committees, both the Committee of the Whole, the CST, and all the chairs of the contact groups that worked very, very hard, often late at night. My sincere thanks also goes to our UN colleagues who came from New York, Geneva, Vienna, Nairobi, Bangkok, and Arusha, and for your hard work, your camaraderie, and dedication, be it interpreters, UNDSS, or other Secretariat colleagues. Finally, allow me to pay tribute to UNCCD staff for their extraordinary dedication and professionalism. I measure and appreciate all the efforts, enthusiasm, imagination, and diplomatic skills each of you has put in this process. I also value the intellectual contribution all of you have provided at different stages while preparing the COP and during the various meetings and events. Your professionalism embodies the UNCCD philosophy, and your hard work is a prime example of how we can further the land degradation neutrality agenda. Can I ask all UNCCD colleagues to please rise? Those that are in the room, I'm sure many of them are still working somewhere. They're in the back of the room. Please express your appreciation to my colleagues. Mr. President, COP14 is over. For us, it is not the end. Our work begins. On the road to the Climate Action Summit, to the UNFCCC COP25, and the post-2020 biodiversity framework, let us keep the momentum and build stronger partnerships. Thank you for all you have done to make COP14 such an effective forum and for being such a strong advocate to restore land and mitigate the impact of drought. Indeed, we did demonstrate that investing in land can and does unlock opportunities not only for ecosystems, but most importantly for humankind, for our little Daphne and all her sisters and brothers around the world. I wish you bon voyage. Thank you. Bahut Dhanyavad. Yeah.
I thank Mr. Chair for his statement. I invite the conference to turn to agenda item number 8, report on the session. I now invite Enid Chaveri of Costa Rica to present the draft report of the 14th session of COP on behalf of the reporter of the COP Bureau, Mr. Charles Rodriguez. Mr. Chaveri, you have the floor.
Distinguished President of COP14, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, I have the honor to present to you the draft report of the 14th session of the Conference of the Parties to the United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification. In this regard, the conference has before it document ICCD/COP14/L7, which contains in chapters 1 and 2 an account of the opening of the session and the organizational matters of the session, respectively. Considering the decision of the conference under agenda item 1CI on election of vice presidents to replace the 2 nominations by the African States Group, in paragraph 10 of item B, chapter 2, the 2 vice presidents listed will be replaced with the following newly elected vice presidents: Mr. Claude Nyamugabo and Mr. Al-Mustafa Garba. Item C of Chapter 2 contains information and credentials of delegations. In this respect, I would like to inform the conference that in connection with the final report on credentials contained in document ICCD/COP14/22, the credentials of Niger will be included in the final report of the session. I would like to announce also an oral amendment to paragraph 29, chapter 2, item G, Committee of the Whole, as follows. The paragraph should read, the committee submitted 18 recommendations to the COP. The conference took action on these recommendations at its 5th and 6th meetings on 12 September and 13 September 2019. Chapter 3 contains a brief description of the open dialogue sessions held with the civil society on 5 and 11 September on the themes inclusive dialogue on land tenure in the context of land degradation neutrality and intergenerational cooperation for land restoration, including land tenure security, green jobs, and migration. Chapter 4 summarizes the main outcomes of the special segment, including the 3 high-level roundtables and the 3 interactive dialogue sessions that were held on 9 and 10 September. The decisions and the resolution adopted by the Conference of the Parties will be contained in Chapter 5 of the same document. The draft report will be completed with the guidance of the Bureau and the assistance of the UNCCD Secretariat to reflect also the proceedings of this last meeting of the conference as per Chapter 6 on the conclusion of the session. With that said, Your Excellency, I recommend this draft report to the Conference of the Parties for its consideration. Thank you.
I thank Ms. Chaveri for the report. May I take it that the conference wishes to adopt the draft report of its 14 sessions contained in the document ICCD/COP14/L7 as orally corrected and authorizes the reporter to finalize the report after the session with the assistance of the Secretariat. Hearing no objection, it is so decided. I would now like to give the floor to the distinguished delegate of Italy.
Thank you for giving me the floor, Mr. President, distinguished delegate. Italy has the honor to submit to your attention a draft resolution on the expression of gratitude to the government and people of the Republic of India The Conference of the Parties, having met in New Delhi from 2 to 13 September 2019, at the invitation of the Government of the Republic of India. Point 1, expresses its profound gratitude to the Government of the Republic of India for having made it possible for the 14th session of the Conference of the Parties to be held in New Delhi and for the excellent facilities placed at its disposal. Requests the government to convey to the people of the Republic of India the profound gratitude of the parties to the Convention for the hospitality and the warm welcome extended to the participants. Thank you.
Thank you for this expression of gratitude. May I take it that the conference wishes to adopt the draft resolution entitled Expression of Gratitude to the Government and People of Republic of India, contained in document ICCD/COP14/L14. Complete unanimity, it is so decided. Distinguished delegates, the floor is now open for the representatives of regional and interest groups, the representatives of United Nations systems, its specialized agencies, and other intergovernmental organizations, as well as representatives of non-governmental organizations to make brief statements. I now give floor to the representative of State of Palestine. On behalf of Group 77 in China, floor is yours.
سيدي الرئيس، أتشرف بإلقاء هذه الكلمة نيابة عن مجموعة ال77 والصين. واسمحوا لي أولاً أن أعبر لكم عن امتناني وتهنئة المجموعة لحكومة وشعب الهند على استضافة مؤتمر
people and government of India for hosting this session and for their warm welcome. The year 2019.
All right, we're getting you the latest on what's happening on the concluding day of COP14, concluding remarks being made and a lot of assessment being done of what has happened. And now we're taking you across to Switzerland. These are live pictures from Switzerland, where President Ramnath Kovind is visiting. Listen in to the President.
India's 7-phase, 6-week-long parliamentary elections held in April-May this year with an electorate of 900 million and over 600 million voter turnout was the planet's largest democratic exercise so far. Nearly half of the 543 members of parliament in the Lok Sabha, that is our lower house, have been elected for the first time. More importantly, we saw 78 women members of parliament joining the lower house, the highest ever in the history of our democracy. Beyond numbers, our parliament vividly captures the diversity of India. Your achievements on this score are equally impressive, and we have been privileged to share our experiences. I bring with me the message of a new India in the making, an India that is combining its civilizational ethos and values with modern-day progress and prosperity, an India that breathes and lives its age-old philosophy of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, that is, the entire world is one family, even as it seeks to provide the best for its people. Excellencies, my visit to Switzerland is taking place in the year which marks the 150th birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi, the father of our nation. He had visited Vilna in 1931. I will be unveiling a bust of Mahatma Gandhi in Vilna tomorrow to celebrate his special connection with your country and your values. The greatest Indian monk, Swami Vivekananda, and Nobel laureate Gurudev Rabindranath Tagore also visited Switzerland, drawn by your intellect and natural beauty. Your pursuit of knowledge and science has made your country an attractive education destination. We have a large number of Indian students enrolling in your universities. Yesterday, I had the opportunity to address your youth at the University of Bern. I was most impressed by their outlook and spirit. I am happy that we have agreed to renew the Hindi chair at the University of Lausanne. Ladies and gentlemen, India-Switzerland partnership has made significant progress. Our complementary strengths make us natural partners. India is the world's fastest growing major economy. We have set a target to become a 5 trillion economy by 2025. Our performance on world's leading business index has been impressive. Around 65% of our population is below 35 years of age. Our youth has the drive, energy, and confidence to script the machine intelligence age and to draw the contours of the fourth industrial revolution. We are skilling and empowering them to convert our demographic profile into demographic dividend. We count on your cooperation to make them drivers of our growth and prosperity. The India-Switzerland Business Roundtable being held within the framework of my visit will contribute to intensifying our economic and technological engagement. We look forward to exchanging a letter of intent to create an India-Switzerland Science and Innovation Alliance to set up our existing cooperation in these fields. Excellencies, I am happy to note that we will have the first automatic exchange of information on tax matters in the coming weeks. It is a very positive development. Tax evasion and money laundering have strong links with terrorism. The scourge of terrorism is among the gravest challenges that the world faces today. India has been a victim of state-sponsored terrorism for decades. We seek your support to enhance global efforts to defeat and destroy all manifestations of terrorism. Ladies and gentlemen, there is a need to strengthen our joint work in the multilateral arena. In order to be effective, international institutions need to reflect the realities of the contemporary world. I am pleased to note that India and Switzerland have made reciprocal arrangements for UN Security Council non-permanent seat candidatures. We are thankful to Switzerland for its consistent support for India's membership of the Nuclear Suppliers Group. We are committed to work with you to fight climate change. We are on course to meet our targets under the Paris Accord. We look forward to signing an MOU later in the day to enhance our bilateral partnership to tackle climate change. We also look forward to Switzerland joining the International Solar Alliance. Ladies and gentlemen, our ties are based on close cultural understanding. Yoga and Ayurveda, free work, music and Bollywood magic have brought our people together. Your beautiful landscapes, famous brand names, and sporting icons create very positive feelings for Switzerland in India. There is a strong case for you to be more active in India for strengthening business links and for forging stronger cultural connections. I once again thank President Maurer and members of the esteemed Federal Council for their warmth and friendship. I look forward to the official talks later today. We are ready to work together with new energy to herald a new era in our relations. Thank you.
So there you saw President Ramnath Kovind in Bern in Switzerland in the House of Parliament there, and addressing the people present. He'll also be interacting with members of the Federal Council a little later, and he before the official talks began made those remarks saying that there will be an MOU with Switzerland on climate change. It has done a lot of work in combating climate change, Switzerland, and those capabilities would then perhaps be harnessed for combating climate change in India as well. And the climate change is related to in many ways to desertification as well, and COP14 is going on in Greater Noida at the moment. It's the last day, the concluding day, the final day, and the Delhi declaration has been out as well. Proceedings are also going on at the moment building up to that conclusion. Let's go back live to Greater Noida.
We have greatly appreciated their considerable efforts to ensure that the COP ran smoothly, that all our needs were met, as well as the hospitality of the Indian people. Over the past 2 weeks, we have had stimulating discussions, intense negotiations, and inspiring events. We have reached an agreement on a number of important decisions that will guide international efforts to combat desertification, land degradation, and drought in the coming years. In particular, we wish to highlight the importance of the decision on land tenure, which is addressed for the first time in the framework of the Convention. It reflects the importance of land tenure as an enabler of measures to combat DLDD. In addition, we welcome the decision on drought, which reflects the seriousness of this issue and which will launch a process for the Convention to take coordinated steps to address it in the future. We also welcome the Government of India's initiative at the COP, and in this regard wish to acknowledge the Delhi Declaration. This COP was also a significant opportunity to highlight and build on the results of the recent IPCC report on climate change and land. The report makes clear the key role of sustainable land management in mitigating and adapting to climate change. We would like to express our sincere appreciation towards everyone present for their contribution to the results achieved at COP14. We greatly valued the open dialogue sessions with civil society organisations on highly important topics. However, we wish to give CSO, especially representatives from the youth, a more inclusive and participatory role in the conference by accepting them in future as observers to negotiations. Our ambition is also to better integrate the results of this COP into the international agenda, such as the upcoming UNSG Climate Action Summit and Sustainable Development Goals Summit, the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change COP25, and the Convention on Biological Diversity COP15, as well as into other international fora, such as the IUCN World Conservation Congress. These results should also contribute to the preparation of the UN Decade on Ecosystem Restoration 2021 to 2030. The presence of numerous and important guests who gave their valuable contribution to our discussions should encourage us to continue working in the directions agreed here. Everyone must play his or her role in a common, integrated, and collaborative framework. Mr. President, last but not least, we would like to congratulate the Executive Secretary, Mr. Chow, and the whole team of the Secretariat for their dedicated work for this convention. The European Union and its member states look forward to continuing our excellent cooperation with them in the future. Thank you for your attention.
I thank representative of Finland who spoke on behalf of European Union. I now invite representative of Morocco on behalf of African Group. Floor is yours.
Monsieur le Président de la Conférence des partis, Monsieur le Secrétaire exécutif de la Convention des Nations Unies pour la lutte contre la
desertification, distinguished members of the Bureau and of subsidiary bodies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. Speaking on behalf of the African Group, I would like to reiterate my deepest gratitude to the government and to the people of the Republic of India for the hospitality and the warm welcome that they gave us and for all the efforts that have been made so as to accommodate our needs during our stay. Additionally, I would like to make my gratitude coextensive to the Executive Secretary of the Convention for having successfully organized this Conference of the Parties, which has taken place at a key point in our time, calling for actions at all levels. I would also like to thank the states for having expressed such a high level of solidarity, understanding, and trying to garner a consensus during our negotiations. Chair, I would like to take advantage of this opportunity to congratulate you, sir, for the outstanding way in which you have led our work, which ensured that our meeting ended with successful decisions. And during these concluding observations, we look forward with anticipation to the upcoming work over the next 2 years. We would like to pledge to you our full support in the African group. As we conclude 2 weeks of hard work, Africa is pleased to see an approval of the Declaration of Delhi and the successful conclusion of this session of the Conference of the Parties. By coming here to India, Africa noted a few concerns regarding items on the agenda, particularly those relating to the establishment of a binding agreement on drought, land neutrality, land degradation neutrality, migration, land tenure, and the program budget. President, overall, the African group would like to express its satisfaction with the recommendations and decisions that have arisen during this conference, and efforts that are being made to address the ongoing problem of drought and desertification worldwide. Problems that particularly affect the African continent because of its increased vulnerability. This is an important step for Africa, and we will welcome with satisfaction the consensus that has been garnered so as to create an intergovernmental working group, which would allow us to delve even deeper into the issue to find the ideal solution to this problem. Along the same lines, we welcome the adoption of the Global Common Indicator for the Strategic Target on Drought, which will doubtless assist us in improving the capacity building for the Convention for the timeframe 2018-2030, to do so in a coordinated and integrated fashion. We encourage state parties to avail themselves of this tool. In terms of financial matters, an issue that is becoming important for the implementation of the Convention, we would like to express our boundless gratitude to the financial partners for the pledges that they have made, assisting us by mobilizing resources to combat the drought. We believe as well that the African group welcomes the decisions that have been taken on methods to implement these finances which we have secured, and we hope that we'll be able to secure even greater funds for other projects, because without such projects it would be impossible to attain land degradation neutrality. Chair, it goes without saying that the COP14 has come to an end. But we still have a great road to hoe ahead of us. All of us must remain committed with the same momentum that we have built thus far, ensuring that we can turn our words into actions on the ground, creating a positive impact which would improve the degradation of land and then have a positive impact on the surrounding population as well. We would like to commend once again the Republic of India and the Executive Secretariat of the Convention for having so successfully organized this conference, for the outstanding results which have emerged from it. Thank you.
I now invite, on behalf of Asia Pacific Group, representative of Bhutan.
Your Excellency, the Honorable Minister of the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change of the Government of the Republic of India, Executive Secretary, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. Bhutan is honored to present this statement on behalf of the Asia-Pacific Group and wish to firstly congratulate the government of the Republic of India for their commitment in hosting COP14 and the hospitality extended to all the parties. Mr. President, the Asia-Pacific greatly applauds the outcome of the New Delhi Declaration, which highlights the importance of investing in land and unlocking opportunities. As a region, we appreciate that the New Delhi Declaration places a greater emphasis on LDN as an accelerator for the achievement of SDG 15, urging community-driven partnership to implement transformative, sustainable land management best practices to conserve and restore land and soil affected by DLDD and floods. We also appreciate the recognition of the United Nations Decade on Ecosystem Restoration, which commits to adopt integrated best practices and approaches to scientific-based land restoration initiatives. The Asia-Pacific region is especially grateful that the New Delhi Declaration takes particular note and high-level recognition of the launch of Peace Forest Initiative by the Republic of Korea, which alongside the Changwon Initiative encourages collaboration and cooperation of transboundary transformation land restoration projects and programs at the sub-regional, regional, and international levels, including for the promotion of peace. We are also encouraged by the emphasis placed on the promotion and strengthening of relationship with other relevant conventions and international organizations, institutions, and agencies through leveraging opportunities and enhancing synergies with other Rio Convention. In this regard, COP15 of the CBD themed Ecological Civilization Building, a Shared Future for All Life on Earth, which will be held in China in 2020, aims to adopt the post-2020 global biodiversity framework, and we envision that synergies through this forum could support the implementation of UNCCD in an integrated and comprehensive manner. Mr. President, the Asia-Pacific Group acknowledges that drought is an emerging issue that impacts the entire Asia-Pacific region, requiring due attention and action to address this issue. Thus, we welcome with much appreciation the COP decision on drought. The further support for the drought initiative and the formation of an intergovernmental working group to advance our work in progressing implementation with the view to provide more effective solution to address this global issue. The Asia-Pacific also welcomes with much appreciation the COP decision on gender, migration, sand and dust storm, as well as the land tenure, including the VGGT, and considers the integration of this will mobilize more participation and partnership at the national, regional, and global level. As a region, we understand the sensitivities involved and the need to take into consideration the national circumstances in addressing this issue in the context of the implementation of the convention. We very much appreciate the diligent efforts of the CRIC in the assessment and review of the submitted national reports that includes the monitoring of the LDN-based indicators. We also appreciate the hard work of the CST, particularly the joint collaboration with IPCC and IPBS on synergistic solution to restore, rehabilitate, and reverse degraded land areas and landscapes, and their recommendations for creating LDN enabling environment and enhancing role of land-based interventions in drought mitigation and risk management. Mr. President, lastly, the Asia-Pacific Group express our gratitude to the host government for the successful conduct of the high-level segment, as well as the roundtable discussions and interactive dialogues, which resulted in meaningful discussion among the parties and other interested groups. As the Asia-Pacific Group, we highly appreciate the remarks and the interventions of our leaders, and especially those of Prime Minister His Excellency Narendra Modi, whose presence in the opening of the high-level segment is a testament to the high value that the Government of India places on combating DLDD. Mr. President, on this note, we wish to once again extend our congratulations and most heartfelt appreciation to the Government of the Republic of India for its excellent hosting of the UNCCD COP14. Our sincere thanks also to all the staff of the UNCCD Secretariat and the Global Mechanism for their tireless efforts, as well as to all the volunteers and workers for their assistance and hospitality. Finally, we wish to thank all the delegations for the cooperative spirit that has allowed us to complete our work in good time and wish all the participants a very safe journey home. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bhutan. Now I invite representative of Grenada on behalf of Latin American and Caribbean Group.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have the honor to present this final statement on behalf of the Group of Latin America and Caribbean countries at the 14th session of the Conference of the Parties to the United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification. We would like to reiterate our gratitude to the government and people of the Republic of India and the beautiful city of New Delhi for their hospitality and facilities they have shared with us for the holding of this Conference of the Parties. We congratulate and thank the Executive Secretary and staff for organizing such an important event and commend the participation of the various United Nations agencies present and the representatives of civil society. Your efforts has contributed to the results obtained today, which is concerned with the pivotal need of addressing DLDD and to highlight the work of the bodies of the Convention, the CRIC, the CST, and the SPI. Mr. President, we have reached the end of COP. During these 2 weeks, we have made new and valuable decisions, which GRULAC deems as a priority for the building of our collective capacities for implementation of the DLDD agenda and of transformative LDN projects. Those measures, we believe, will direct the world towards a path of progress with healthy and productive lands and soils, and will contribute to the eradication of poverty in all its forms. In this regard, we will sustain our actions towards the achievement of land degradation neutrality by completing the voluntary LDN target setting process and updating and strengthening national action programs to combat DLDD. The region of Latin America and the Caribbean has multiple types of ecosystems that provide important environmental services and functions that benefit the whole planet, such as containing one of the highest levels of biodiversity in the world. However, this bastion of diversity is highly vulnerable to the effects of desertification, land degradation, and drought, and severely aggravated by climate change. In this context, we must reinforce actions to mitigate the effects of desertification, land degradation, and drought, while advancing preventative and cost-effective measures. To that end, we emphasize the importance that the Convention has placed on building the capacity of parties in the development and execution of transformative LDN projects, and highlight in particular the relevance of those that address drought. GRULAC views the reinforcement of actions to mitigate the effects of desertification, land degradation, and drought to the benefit of the communities most affected by these phenomena as being absolutely essential. We also take note of the emerging issue of land tenure. GRULAC wishes to reiterate our position on this matter. Mr. President, in order to continue our fight against desertification, land degradation, and drought, we encourage all delegations to bring all the issues to the attention of the highest political level and to promote the involvement of a greater number of actors and stakeholders, including civil society. Accordingly, we welcome the high-level commitments of the Government of the Republic of India and the Government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, amongst others. The COP14 has ended, but of course the fight against desertification, land degradation, and drought remains. We have a lot to do in our countries, and our success or failure will be decided by what we do in the field. So we must ensure that the commitments made in this COP do not remain a slogan, or as one Prime Minister said, a mirage, but become a reality. The peoples of the world whom we serve are dependent on us to make giant steps for mankind. In that sense, we regard the support from other parties, in particular from the developed countries, and in the form of additional stable and predictable financial resources, technology transfers, technical cooperation, and capacity building as crucial for the implementation of the Convention. We therefore urge developed and other development partners to renew their commitment to the Convention and to increase their support to affected countries. We believe that exploring the synergies with the United Nations Convention on Biological Diversity and the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change further highlights the need and cost-effectiveness of guaranteeing that support. In other words, those will be resources well invested. Mr. President and distinguished delegates, we commend you all for the hard work and determination so that we could have arrived at these decisions that are adopted. We thank you all for your invaluable contributions towards a successful conclusion of the 14th session of the Conference of the Parties, the 18th CRIC, and the 14th CST, and wish you all a safe journey back home. Thank you.
Thank you, Grenada. Now I call upon Malta on behalf of Regional Implementation Annex for Northern Mediterranean's Annex IV.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your Excellency, Mr. Prakash Javadekar, President of COP14, Minister of Environment, Forest and Climate Change of India, Your Excellency, Executive Secretary, Mr. Baintiao, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. It is an honor to deliver this statement on behalf of the Northern Mediterranean region and its 12 affected country parties. We would like to extend our sincere gratitude to the Government of India for hosting the 14th session of the Conference of the Parties of the UNCCD in New Delhi. During the COP, we had moving speeches, intense negotiations, and informative events. A number of key decisions have been taken to combat desertification, land degradation, and drought, which will guide future efforts. We also welcome and value the open dialogues shared with civil society organizations. We suggest greater involvement of youth, since these are the future of this convention. We also consider the Delhi Declaration an important political reinforcement to go ahead and continue to invest our efforts on the LDD. The COP also highlighted the important role land restoration has on mitigating and adapting to climate change. The close ties between sustainable development goals and actions for sustainable land management have also been emphasized. We welcome the momentum gained through this convention.
Good evening and welcome to the Kashmir Truth. I'm Amrit Pal Singh. This is a show which we telecast to you every day at 6:30 p.m. in the evening on DD India and 9:30 in the morning. We repeat it on DD News. Basically, our objective is to put out the true picture of what is really happening in the state of Jammu and Kashmir. Why the need for us to bring you this? Because a lot of disinformation, misinformation, wild propaganda is floating around, and this is not just innocent propaganda or innocent misinformation. This is a very well thought out strategy by our western neighbor Pakistan, which puts out such sort of propaganda. Let's take a look at what sort of propaganda is floating around. This video this is a tweet in which a video shows an old man standing by the side of a young man lying unconscious on the floor, saying that due to shutdown the old man could not bury his son. The video claims it to be of Kashmir, of today's Kashmir. When we probed it further, we found out